In general, with math, I really enjoy solving puzzles and just solving things in general. I think a lot about how things work and why they work the way they do, and I feel that through math, I can learn something like that better than in another subject.
What I enjoy about math is the whole problem-solving aspect to math. I find big problems and like word equations pretty tough, but they're pretty fun to go through when you get them right.
I also just enjoy the feeling of accomplishment when I get the answer right, or it's a challenging question and I feel I got it. So
What I find most challenging about math is probably memorizing things like formulas and what parts of the formulas mean what.
The problem solving is probably the most challenging part, but that's what I enjoy about it. So I enjoy the challenge, and that's why I think it's probably the hardest part of math, but that's why I find math enjoyable.
So sometimes with numbers and equations, it's hard to see exactly in my mind how they relate to each other. So I think that would be the most difficult thing.
I found that the online homework quizzes helped me. They almost forced me to do homework in a way, which was kind of interesting, and I just enjoyed the whole being able to do it in the comfort of my home, like where I wanted to, and the fact that it was online and on like my laptop just made it more interesting for me and made me want to do it.
I really enjoyed the Chromebooks, in particular using Desmos on the Chromebooks. I found they were really useful because that's how I really got a great visual idea of how graphs looked and how manipulating equations affected the graph, and I could see that. You can see instantaneously how changing numbers and values and adding or removing them alters the graphs.
I feel that the Chromebooks were very useful because it helped with my organization skills. When I didn't have the Chromebooks, my binders were very disorganized, but with the Chromebooks, it was allowed me to learn at a quicker rate and more efficient.
I absolutely loved collaborating with people in groups. I found it helped me to realize different ways of doing things, and I feel like in math a lot of people think that there's only one straight answer, but through our collaboration in groups I found there is one answer, but there can be 5 different ways of getting to that answer.
Group work really helps because if I didn't understand something, I could ask a partner, and we could all kind of brainstorm on the ideas of what we were learning, and then from there kind of move forward, which was harder when you're doing independent work.
I really enjoyed the whiteboards simply because it was right there in front of me, and I could also relate to what other people were doing on their square and workspace on the whiteboard, and it's a good way to also get questions being asked within the group and see how other students are doing it, and yeah, I did enjoy it.
It helped a lot during the group work, and everyone would write down what their ideas and thoughts were on the whiteboard, and then if we didn't like it, we could quickly erase it and correct our mistakes.
Because it wasn't like when I was doing my homework, I had a written note that I just kept flipping back to and looking at instead of actually remembering how to do something.
I really like the flipped instruction because when we watch the video the night before and we learn the lesson the night before, we can go to class the next morning and ask the teachers any questions we have. This way we can also do like homework during class. So if we have any questions from the homework, we can ask the teacher right away too, whereas usually you'd have to wait the next morning before you could ask the teacher. And it also helps when we have a substitute or when we're away, because we can watch the videos at home and stay on track with the rest of the class.
I really like the flipped instruction video because usually they're very helpful when you have a lot of work to do. You can get the video and the lesson done the night before, and then you have the entire class period to do whatever homework you need, so that way you can often not have homework that night, which is good. For the most part, I agree, it's a very helpful thing to do.
I'd say the biggest difference would be the amount of communication between students is more so used, and I think that's a benefit because I found myself helping other students a lot, and it wasn't difficult for them to just turn to me in the group and say, oh, how do you do this? Could you help me with this? And talking was encouraged at certain times during the class, which I don't find is used in my other math classes. It's more student-teacher communication, but in Mr. Yantho's math class, student-to-student relationships was definitely an element that I found beneficial.
I enjoyed just the style of how things were taught on a projector and how we all interacted together as a class to figure something out. Rather than a teacher telling me how to do something, we all worked together to find the answer. And that helped us to really understand the math behind the work.
I believe the best part about this class and using the technology in math was probably, like I said before, the online quizzes. I feel like they really forced us as students to be on top of our homework because you could easily check if people were doing their homework by doing the online quizzes. And as a result of doing the online quizzes, I feel like as students we were learning better and getting better marks.
How to do one thing was explained in many different ways so that we learned why one thing is done one way, but how another thing that can be done in a completely different way can help us to get to that same answer. And I think it helped with people who had different mindsets and different learning styles because they could think of things in their own way.
The use of Chromebooks, because like I said before, for students that aren't very organized like myself, the Chromebooks really helped me organize. And also we could use apps like Desmos, which is a graphing app, and that really helped during homework and helped visual learners like myself to actually stay on top of my homework and understand what we were learning.
The whiteboards. I really enjoy using the whiteboards, and I think they're a great tool to have in the classroom. And they're a great way to get students to collaborate and formulate answers and learn from each other. And I think it's also great for the teacher because they can walk by and see who is actually doing the work, ideas the students have, and it's a nice big space to work on, so everyone can contribute something. And yeah, I really enjoyed the whiteboards. Yes, it did change my opinion on how to learn math because at the beginning of this semester, I hated the idea of incorporating technology into learning math because for all my years up until grade 10 math with Mr. Yantho, I have completed math with pen and paper and a textbook and just sitting in class and listening to the teacher explain the lesson. So this was a whole new concept.
Yes, I feel like it did change the way I learned math because still today I still go back to the Desmos graph and I still use that. And that really helps when I'm going through homework and say we don't have to graph, but I still want to look at it visually and see maybe the increase of the parabola. It helped me very much.
I think that class with Mr. Yantho really changed the way I look at things for math. It helped me to really think about the math and to think about why something's done. And in all, that helps me to figure out a question and to apply myself to that question, even if it's not something that I'm used to. I can work through it and think about what I can do to figure it out.